right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the very first episode of the Fearless 30. My name is Jason Myers. Alongside me, one of the co-owners of Fearless Fighting Championship, we have Doug Bird. Doug?
Hello, everybody.
How has the night been so far?
Well, it has been a stressful night, as every weigh-in evening is, but we put the hard work in for 2 or 3 months before these fights, so that fight night, everybody can enjoy themselves.
Very interesting card that we have here. You know, we had talked about this a little bit earlier in the week. We were actually basically shrinking the card down, but we added more quality fights. You know, we got the main event, of course, Billy the Kid Christensen, Courtney Buck. Should be a very interesting fight.
Absolutely. I mean, this is a fight that could main event and headline any show in the tri-state area, and we've got it here, so super pumped about that fight.
Well, I tell you what, one of the cool things about this fight is these are two of the most feared strikers in Minnesota MMA, and I tell you what, it's pretty exciting to see these two finally get at it. It's Billy's chance to make a name for himself. It's Courtney's chance to come up and say, hey, I'm still the guy that I was before.
It is. It absolutely. I mean, Courtney's kind of on the path of redemption. Billy is going to prove himself against a top, just a top guy. And, yeah, they both hit hard, and, you know, guys that have fought Billy in the past, they talk about how hard he hits after the fight's over, so.
Yeah, absolutely, he does. And I tell you what, this is a hard cut for these guys. You know, when people walk around, usually 20, 25 pounds over their weight is usually what happens. You can see these guys, they definitely can tell that they've been cutting a whole lot of weight.
Yeah, you don't see a lot of these guys smiling over the course of the next half hour because they're all pretty miserable right now until they can hit the buffet.
You know, we got Courtney Buck getting ready to step up on the stage here. This is, of course, for the 145 pro title. Jim Erickson, of course, the
145.4 pounds to lose.
So he's going to have 0.4 pounds to lose. Fighters will get 2 hours after they weigh in to actually lose the weight they need to lose. We'll have Billy Christensen stepping up here in just a moment. Billy's done just about everything he can. I mean, if you notice, he's actually shaved his whole body, and that's something that's not that uncommon with people that are actually trying to cut that much weight, because every pound for these guys makes a big difference.
Yeah, and, you know, over the years we've seen Billy fight at different weight classes, and this is definitely, you know, I think the bottom where Billy can reach right now. So
yeah.
he has struggled a little bit with this weight, but hopefully the hard work pays off here.
We'll see where he's at. He was about 3 pounds over earlier today.
148.4 versus Jim. 148.4.
So he's at 148.4, and we're going to see where he's going to have to cut. He's going to have 2 hours to do it.
He's got some work to do. I don't think he had actually been in the sauna here for the last 45 minutes or so.
Yeah, he said he went up to his room, actually shaved his head, shaved his body, and now he is going to have to go back in and do a little more cutting. Courtney's actually stripped down. See if that 0.4 pounds was in his underwear. So these guys are going to have to make a decision here. I mean, Courtney's got about 0.4 pounds to lose, and Billy's got about 3.4 pounds. That's going to be a hard cut for him.
It's going to be a really hard
2 hours.
cut in 2 hours. I don't know if that's going to happen or not. I have a feeling these guys will come to an agreement to fight, but I do not. The skeptical side of me says I don't see a title fight happening.
Yeah, absolutely. That is definitely a lot of weight to cut right now. We'll give it a try, though. You know, they do get the 2 hours, so we'll see if they can get that pounds out. And the thing is, like we said, once you get down to a certain weight, your body just won't cut that weight anymore. There's no weight on him to cut.
Nope. And when you're in the sauna and you quit sweating, it's almost time to quit at that point.
We're going to go ahead and make some weights here. We're supposed to have Marzette and Garrett up next, but I'm not sure if they're going to. So coming up next is going to be a 195-pound catch weight. We're still waiting for Marzette Turner to make weight here. Garrett Olson going to jump on the stage. Garrett, I tell you what, he's one of these guys that you don't want to sleep on Garrett. Garrett has got one of the massive overhand rights that when he connects, it's ridiculous.
And we witnessed it FFC 13 with a huge knockout over Matt Thompson.
194.8 here for Garrett Olson.
So Garrett makes weight at this catch weight. That's a catch weight.
right, so we're going to move ahead here, and Joe Allard's going to jump on the scale. He'll be taking against Chris Skoglund. They're coming in from the UP, so they're going to be in a little bit later, but this is going to be another 185-pound matchup. Joe just turned pro not too long ago, correct?
Yep. Joe Allard actually started with Fearless Fighting way back when in FFC 1 or 2, I believe, and was an amateur back then. And he actually took some time off, had a child, quit training, and the passion for MMA is back, so he is just getting back on the road here, but has turned pro.
I tell you what, having a kid will definitely slow down your training. So he makes weight at 184. Chris Skoglund, his opponent's going to be making a trip in. Like I said, tomorrow morning he'll be weighing in at roughly 10 o'clock or so. So here we go. We got a 145-pound title fight right here. We have Robert Tatnan and Travis Karpinen. I'm very excited about this matchup because these two guys are pretty much mirrors of each other. They both are very, very technical on the ground. They both are very, very skilled at what they do, and their body types are pretty the same. This is probably the first matchup, I think. I'm trying to think back, but this is the first matchup for as we call him, Bobbert, that he's had a guy that's actually lankier than he is, I think.
I mean, these guys' bodies are carbon copies of each other, and honestly, their skill sets are a lot the same. This is going to be a great fight. This is probably, if there's a fight I'm looking forward to, this is it right here.
Travis, of course, FFC 13 stepped up on a less than a week's notice, dropped about 17 pounds, and he got a big victory. He's coming off a title fight here, actually. I think it was about less than a month ago up in Michigan. He's defended his title now 3 times, and he's one of those sneaky fighters. I'll tell you, you don't see it coming, and then boom, he catches you in a submission, and that's it.
Yep, he lulls you to sleep, and he's one of these guys that can beat you on the feet. He can beat you on the mat.
Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things, you don't want to say there's a weakness in Bob's game, but Bobbert, we've always joked around, likes to lead with his chin. He's got that wrestling background where he crouches down. And that's pretty much where he's at.
He does, but boy, can he not that that's something you want to be known for, but he can take a punch.
I'm trying to think that I didn't catch his weight. Let's see, as Tatnan steps up. So he was 145.2, so he's going to have 0.2 pounds to lose. 144.4 for Robert. They're going to have a square off here, so they're going to call it good. I'm very excited.
Very excited,
fight, man.
That gives you goosebumps right there.
This is going to be a good matchup, I'll tell you right now. So he's at 145.2. It looks like the commission's going to go ahead and let him have that, and that's going to be a title fight tomorrow for the 145 AMI title. And that is going to be actually Bobbert's last amateur fight before he goes to pro.
Correct. Yep, he's been debating for the past 6 months or so whether it's time, and I tend to agree with him. I think it's time.
Yeah, absolutely. He's this will be his toughest test, as Bobbert, of course, coming in undefeated at 8. They're 9-0, and of course Travis sitting at 10-3. So we get set here for Nick Spina, I believe, and Jesse Rogie. Is that who he? So there we go, Spina and Rogie up here getting set to go. These two guys have kind of been, they're journeymen when it comes to the MMA scene in Minnesota. Both these guys have been around for a while.
Yeah, they both started when the sport was relatively, young and growing, and they've been doing it for a while.
Spina is yet to miss a weight cut, so I have no doubt that he's going to make it, and I know that Jesse Rogie, he was fairly close, if not already on weight earlier today. So I think both of these guys are going to be okay. This is going to be a 145-pound amateur fight.
146.9.
146.9. There is a 2-pound allowance, so he's going to make weight. So that's good. So we'll see what Jesse jumps on at. I'm going to say about, if he doesn't knock the scale over, he's going to probably weigh in at about 145.2. Let's see.
We'll have to get you a job at the carnival guessing weights.
I could do that. I could do that. So 145 for Jesse Rogie. Nick Spina here as they get set. Both of them are looking to make kind of a bounce back to the winning streak. I know Jesse had a few wins earlier in the season, or earlier in the year, excuse me, and then of course he went on a kind of a 2-fight losing streak. But he lost to Travis, who we saw earlier, and he lost to Angel Bashan, who's another standout 145 in the state of Minnesota.
Yeah, both tough guys, and Nick as well. I think Nick, and he'd probably be the first to admit it, he hasn't trained the way he wanted to with starting a new gym, and I think he lost a little bit of that focus, but I think it's back.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the best I've seen him. I know he got Coach Getty from the Superior High School up here, wrestling coach, who's a very good wrestling coach.
Yeah, they've got a ton of talent there as far as trainers and coaches now. So, once just like in a new business, you get the bugs worked out and things start to happen.
All right, Matt Merrick getting set to step up here. His opponent had some issues with an ID, and he had to run home and get it, so he'll be weighing in a little bit later. But Merrick from the Wolf Pack up in Hibbing. Great organization, great team that trains with Tat Romero, and you can't say enough about him.
Man, if they're just one of the most professional camps in the business today, and it's every time they're on our card, we always know that the T's are going to be crossed and the I's are going to be dotted.
So it looks like he weighed in at 127.8. What's that fight at, 135?
It's 135.
So he's a little under. Up next, we have Caleb Mirth. This is another fight I'm really, really excited for because Caleb, of course, he comes from a great pedigree. Steve Mirth, his older brother, who's both just great wrestlers. They train down at the Cellar. And then you have Ben McNeely, who has stepped up his last 2 fights with us. He's had 2 very impressive wins. He had a really good ground game that he took to his first opponent, Eugene Stengel. He really just punished him with his knees.
Overwhelmed him.
Absolutely he did. And this last fight he had for FFC 13, he actually hit a nice liver kick that dropped his opponent, Dylan, who's actually going to be fighting here tonight too as well.
Yes.
So this should be an interesting matchup because, I mean, if a betting man, I'm not, but if I would say so, I'm going to imagine Caleb's going to use his wrestling. He's going to be looking to shoot a lot, and he's going to have to watch out for those knees of Ben McNeely, that's for sure.
Yeah, but one thing about the guys coming from the Cellar is they are so well-rounded. You go in there as a wrestler, you're going to come out a mixed martial artist.
Yeah, absolutely. 136.6 for Caleb Mirth. Up next on the scale is going to be Ben McNeely. Formerly of Twin Ports MMA, of course, they unfortunately have since closed their doors, but he still trains quite a bit. 136.2. I know he trains with Jesse Rogie. That kind of team of the Twin Ports guys, they kind of still stick together. They do some training. And
yeah, I think they're still all pretty close and train a lot.
I always like the square off, so always my favorite part to see who's going to get up in whose face.
Yeah, well, and you know what? I think, Jason, something to point out here is the respect factor that these fighters show for each other, because I'll be honest with you, there's a lot of these guys that don't necessarily like each other.
Yeah.
Some of it's built up animosity just to create something for a fight for themselves, but other times it's real, but you can still see that there's a lot of respect shown.
Well, we got a couple super heavyweights here. These guys are going to weigh in at just under 285 pounds. Up on the scale first is Will Ashman.
It appeared
283.8.
It appears as he was trying to
worked.
levitate off the scale.
Corey Sanderson. Here's another guy that he trains up with Tat Romero at the Wolfpack. A guy I like Corey. I know Corey has done a great job of cutting weight. He's lost. He told me the number, but it was quite a bit of weight.
50, 60 pounds, I believe.
There you go. And you know what? It's good for him. And he had a nice display on our last show.
He really did, and he's pretty green in this sport. But when you fight at the Wolfpack, Tat doesn't let you go until you're ready. So he's here. That means he's ready.
And that's one thing that's, you can't say enough about Tat. It's not just a gym to him. These are his family that come down here.
It is, yep.
Of course, tomorrow, FFC 14 set to go at Black Bear. Of course, that is going to be at 5 o'clock. Doors open 6 o'clock. We do have the first fight to get started. Up next, we have Jake Jensen, who is just a freak of nature.
Got a body carved out of stone.
Yeah, absolutely does it. He's got a wrestling background, trains up with Pete Benedict's Team Alpha Roll. And you know what? He's coming against a newcomer, Rene Martinez. He's wanted to do this for a long, long time, and he's got some training boxing. So it should be pretty interesting. You got a boxer versus a wrestler here.
Yes. Jake's original opponent was Blake. Blake Butler.
Blake Butler, yeah.
Yes, and he got into an accident. I believe it was an automobile accident.
It was a four-wheeler accident.
And got really banged up.
Yeah, absolutely. And I tell you what, if you would have had those two in there, that's a lot of muscle because Blake is just huge.
Oh, they're, again, bigger than Jake is right there. Blake is.
All right, up next here, Josh Havajanari.
You could say that again.
I don't even know if I said it right necessarily, but, you know.
Havajanari.
And he's up against, is it Gordon Hansen?
Yes.
Is Gordon here? There he is. Wow. I got to tell you, I saw Gordon Hansen the last time he was here. He really has slimmed down since the last time he fought. Holy cow.
He fought last at his walking weight, he said.
150.4.
150.4.
So Gordon has a little work to do.
So he's got 5 pounds overweight.
Well, and he's got a 2-pound allowance. So he really has to lose 3 pounds.
So 2 hours, like we said, if the fighters miss weight, they have 2 hours to actually make that weight, and then it's pretty much on them in order to decide if they're going to take the fight. Because their opponent can take the fight if they want.
Yeah, as long as it's approved by the commission with a reasonable amount of difference. If a guy's 10 or 15 pounds over, the commission is certainly not going to approve that. But most of these guys, that's not the case. It's usually a pound or 2.
Up next, we have Dylan Malari and his opponent, Jairus Hopi. It's funny, I was talking to Dylan. He had a fight not too long ago, and pretty unfortunate. He took a cheap shot. The two came out, and you see this a lot of times in MMA where the fighters will come out and they'll touch gloves. Well, as the guy was touching his glove, he was coming across with like a right cross.
Yep. I hate it, and it happens once or twice a year, and I just hate when these guys do that. Touch gloves, and then you touch gloves after the fight.
Right, yeah,
Show
be
the respect.
respectful.
Earlier, you need to go and get your gloves signed.
So Jairus Hopi's jumping up on the stage here. He is a big 135er.
Yes, he is.
He is solid muscle.
Here's where you're going to see how much a reach advantage comes into play.
Absolutely.
142.
Whoa. He's about 7 pounds overweight here, so he's going to have, some work to do. He looks like he's not sucked in too bad right now, so he can cut some of it. So if he's 7 pounds over, technically he's got to lose 5.
5 pounds.
So the commissioner is talking to him right now, and he's going to give him 2 hours. Dylan being the sport, that's what he is, So he'll go ahead and give him 2 hours to go and cut as much as he possibly can. That could play in Dylan's advantage, too, because I tell you, once you get in there and you start zapped and you're tired, you got 24 hours to rehydrate, but anybody that's ever been a wrestler, a fighter, or anything, you can do what you can in 24 hours. It doesn't mean you're going to feel great tomorrow.
Nope. A lot of these guys, the weight cut starts 7 weeks ago, so to rehydrate and eat in one day doesn't give you all your strength and your energy back.
This is a really interesting fight to me. Here we got a young man by the name of Steven Swanson. He's getting set to fight a gentleman named Joe Allen. Now, here's the interesting thing about it, Doug. Joe fought Steven's dad on our last card.
Yes.
And now here we had a chance to set this fight up. And
talk about getting the scouting report.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we were talking a little bit before the fights here, and it was rather funny because he said, you know what, I got to beat him. I got to finish him because my dad couldn't do it because I'm going to have to for bragging rights.
I was talking with Steven's dad was in here today. He's a state trooper as well, and he was in here today, and he still said he has not watched the fight. He felt so disappointed in his performance.
You got to think he's in his 40s, and,
yes. Yep. He was told by his coaches that he just didn't breathe because he said he was never so tired after the first 30 seconds of a fight. And he trains when they train and spar. He's a boxer as well, and they train 6, 7, 8 rounds at a time,
Yeah,
and he's
absolutely.
never gassed.
Of course, Joe, former Marine. It's funny. He's and I don't want to say this with disrespect. You look at guys, and some guys you look at and you say he's a fighter. Jake Jensen, you look at him, you say he was a fighter.
Yes.
Joe, he was not. I didn't look at him and think fighter, but when I saw him fight, it was unreal.
Tough guy. He opens the card up tomorrow, and the funny part is he opened the card up on the last show against Steven's
right.
dad, and they put on a great. It was a 3-round fight, win all 3 rounds. It was a decision win, but it was a great fight. It was like 3 rounds of rock'em sock'em robots.
That's exactly what it was. It was, just a punch you in the face, and that's pretty much how that fight went. Well, that's all the weigh-ins here from Black Bear. We'll have a few more that we have to do tomorrow, and it should be a very interesting night of fights. What fights are you looking forward to the most?
Well, I tell you, if I have to pick one on the card, to be honest with you, it's probably our amateur title fight with Travis Carpenter and Bob Bertatin. Just because, Jason, they seem so equally matched. Now, with that said, you can flip a coin, and I'm just as pumped to see Marzette Turner and Garrett Olson go at it because there is no love lost there. And the type of fighting, anyone that's ever watched Marzette Turner fight, the type of fight, he is like a caged animal. And no matter who Marzette's fighting, it's fun to watch.
And here's the thing: we want to make something very clear here. That was supposed to be a title fight.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Marzette could not get down to the recommended weight of 185. So we're trying to do a 195 catch weight. And Marzette is actually still in the sauna right now, trying to cut that weight off.
Yes. And he weighed in earlier here, and he was about 5 pounds off of, I think 5 or 6 pounds was it off of?
Something like that.
I think he'll make it. I think, it tells me something that he didn't even come down here to weigh in because he wanted to stay in the sauna and lose it right now.
That or he's over at the buffet, one of the two. We're not quite sure yet.
Yeah. Stranger things have happened.
We have seen stranger things that happened. Another fight that I'm pretty interested in seeing tomorrow night is Chris Skoglund and Joel Allard, just because these are just two crafty. Chris is the grandfather of the team that he trains with, which is Travis and Dylan.
Yes.
And the guy's had a ton of fights. I mean, he doesn't have the best record.
No.
But one thing he does do, he goes in there and he just swings his fists. We saw that against Mike Jew last
Absolutely.
fight.
And he's stated this to me. He's not a guy that handpicks his opponents and has never fought for a record. He just loves to fight. He loves to train guys and mature younger fighters and nurture younger fighters, but he still loves to fight. So he'll fight anybody.
Yeah, he absolutely will. And Joel's going to get a good test. I mean, Joel is 0-1 as a pro, and he's going to go in there against a guy that, of course, had a lot of experience. And it should be an interesting fight tomorrow night, to say the least.
Yes.
Another fight to keep an eye out. I like that Rogi Spina fight. I think that could be a very interesting fight.
Yeah, I mean, both these guys at one time were, kind of in the top tier for our title, and they've both kind of had some losses, and both are out of that talk, as we speak right now. But both crafty guys, both skilled. Nick Spina at one time was right at the top in the rankings.
Yeah, he's fought some, and that's the thing about Nick Spina. Nick Spina is another one that he will step up and fight. He fought a very tough Sean Richmond down, and that's just one guy that, keep an eye on him. If he's anything like his brother Mike, who, of course, is fighting in Bellator tomorrow night on pay-per-view, he's going to be a scary, scary fighter.
Yep. A great group of people they train with down there, so there's just all kinds of talent.
The biggest hope, for the night is, of course, Billy Christensen trying to get down to lose that 3.4 pounds. I mean, I think you weighed in at 148.4, I think it was, and 3.4 pounds is a lot to lose.
They both have a little weight to lose, I believe, if I remember correctly.
Courtney was 0.4 of a pound.
Okay, so but this will be a sad shame if this is not a title fight, because both these guys deserve to wear the title.
They really do, and we hope we can put it on somebody's waist tomorrow. And it's the hard thing. You always feel bad because you see these fighters that come in and they put in the work, they put in the time. And sometimes they're lazy, and sometimes their body just stops working. And people don't realize that. Sometimes you'll see, people ask, why is Billy not at weight? Well, Billy's body can only do so much before it stops.
And we've talked about that earlier. Billy's frame, he's a big, muscular guy. And Billy has fought at 45. He's fought at 55. I think he's fought at 70 when he first started.
I think so.
So you can see how times have changed, and he's learned his body, and he's just at the limit right now. I mean, he's not ever going to be a 35er or a 25er. He's at the limit, and he pushed his body this time, and I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if he can make it. I sure hope so.
Well, I tell you what, the doors open at 5 o'clock tomorrow night at Black Bear Casino. That is on September the 7th. Also, we want to point out that we're going to have a major fight announcement tomorrow.
Huge, Jason.
Biggest fight in FFC history, without a doubt.
Yeah, not to bring anybody else up
Right.
or down. The biggest fight in the tri-state area. There's hundreds and hundreds of organizations putting fights on over. This is the biggest fight.
Absolutely. Well, we hope to see you out here tomorrow. It should be a great show, and I'm really looking forward to it as we open up the doors for FFC 14. For Doug Burr,
Yo,
I'm Jason
excited.
Myers. We're excited. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Fearless Fighting Championship 14 right here with Cat 7.